Hey everyone! For this Meta Monday, I have for you guys the Pultzard deck. Now, and this is one of the 3 popular variants of Dragapult. It trades away the Dusknoir engine in exchange for Charizard EX to help out with the Guardy matchup and other Stage 2 decks as well, allowing you to potentially one-shot them in the late game. Now, and as for the whole game plan, it starts off in the early game revolving around Drakloak, allowing you to be able to cycle through cards on the top of your deck in order to find the key cards that you need. And then goes into Dragapult EX, which has 320 HP and is primarily here with the Phantom Dive attack, doing 200 damage, and then allows you to be able to put 6 damage counters however you like on your opponent's bench Pokemon, allowing you to get double knockouts all in a single turn. To help facilitate that, we actually have 1 copy of Hawlucha to be able to soften up those bench Pokemon to get those double knockouts. Our backup attacker is Charizard EX, which 330 HP and a dark type, has Infernal Rain, which allows us to accelerate up to 3 fire energy from our deck onto our Pokemon however we like. So we can easily power up both a Charizard EX and a Dragapult all in the same turn. It also has the Burning Darkness attack, which does 180 damage and 30 more damage for each prize card our opponent has taken, allowing us to easily one-shot in the late game any sort of EX that we want. We also run 1 copy of Chi-Yu. It's just in here for the Crustle and the Goldango matchups. And then we also have a Budew for early game and a Fezandipiti for extra card draw. As for the trainer cards, we'll start off by talking about our A-Spec, which is Unfair Stamp. There's a couple other A-Specs that you could run. Primarily Maximum Belt is the other recommendation I would have, but I find Unfair Stamp comes up a little bit more often, so that's why I run it. We're running 5 Gust effects as well, which is 3 Boss and 2 Counter Catcher. And then we are running 1 Hilda, which helps us by finding an Evolution and a Energy card, allowing us to be able to easily get our Luminous Energy when we need it, and get a Dragapult when we need it, or a Charizard. We're also running 2 copies of Rare Candy. It does come in clutch pretty often, and we're also running 1 copy of Night Stretcher and 1 Air Balloon as well. Other than that, our energy to be notable is 5 Fire and 4 Luminous, and the Luminous is in here solely for 2 Pokemon, which is the Dragapult being able to cover the Psychic energy requirement, and then the Munkidori that we run 1 copy of to be able to move some damage counters. Overall, I really like this deck, and I have for you guys 3 games. And before we get to the games, please leave a like and subscribe for more. I post every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. And without further ado, on to game number 1. Alright, so game number 1, we see a Budew and a Dreepy, so this is definitely going to be a Dragapult mirror match. But most likely this is going to be one of the other 2 common variants, because the Charizard variant of the Dragapult list is the least played overall, but I think that it's actually probably one of the better ones. I know that Dragapult Dusknoir is by far the best, but I think that this list is actually a little bit better than the Monopult, as people call it, where it's just Dragapult. There's no like big other engine to really be notable. Here we do just use the Budew PAF, and we're able to get everything. We found that energy off the top of our deck, which is huge. It allows us to do this TM Evo play. So here I'm just TM Evoing both of the Drakloaks, which, hindsight being what it is, I probably should have just done the Charmander plus a Drakloak. That way I can make it so I don't really have to lose too much, you know, in case they do have like a Rare Candy into a Dragapult, because at that point they could just like boss up our Charizard, get rid of that. So they do add the Dragapult, and they had the Rare Candy. So here, if they can attach an energy, they can knock out pretty much at least 1 Pokemon this turn. They can't knock out 2. But if they don't have an energy and they have just a boss, they could bring up this Charmander. They can knock it out. Luckily, we have a Charmander left in our hand, and we do have the Fez on the field, so we'll be able to draw 3 cards from that. And then with the Drakloaks, we'll be able to see 4 cards deep as well. So here they do have the boss. They are going to bring up that Charmander, get rid of that. So we only have 1 Charmander left that we can really go into which is in our hand, so that's perfect. We top deck a Jamming Tower, don't really need that. The perfect sequence here is use your Drakloaks first, because if you find something like Iono, you can actually use the Iono and get extra value, but since they're down to 2 cards in hand, I really don't want to use the Iono here. So I'm just going to flip the script. We find a Unfair Stamp, but again, we don't want to use that right now. We do have the Hilda, which is perfect for next turn, allowing us to be able to get that Luminous Energy that we need and get another evolution Pokemon, which we could get the Charmeleon, so that way then we can go into Charizard the turn after. So we're setting ourselves up to be able to actually start doing a lot of damage. And here we see it's actually the Dusknoir variant. So they hit us with the Iono, which is fine. And we actually get 2 Luminous Energy. And we also got a Hawlucha. The Hawlucha we don't really need right now. It could be good, but we're not going to be able to get multiple knockouts on the bench this turn. We're only going to be able to guarantee 1. So we might as well go after that Duskull on our following turn, be able to knock that out. Here, they're actually just going back into the Budew for some reason instead of just doing 70. So that's actually even better for us because we can actually retreat this Munkidori with the fire energy on it, be able to go into our Dragapult. But first, we will do this Drakloak. We see that we find a Iono. We don't need another Luminous Energy, and we'd rather keep one somewhere in the deck. So here we are just going to promote the Dragapult, attach Luminous. We are going to Iono them down. We find some decent cards. The Arven plus the Rare Candy means that next turn we can easily go into a Charizard EX if we need to and be able to get extra energy down on the field. We also got a boss off of our prize cards, which is huge. So here they still need to power up their Dragapult, so unless they're running Neo Upper Energy, then they're not going to be able to swing for 200 damage this turn, which means that we're actually in the lead as far as tempo, because we can essentially 2-shot them before they're going to be able to 2-shot us. They do get a Fez down, so that is something notable as well. And with the Fez down, we can actually do a pretty cheeky play. So we have an Ultra Ball in hand. We can actually get a Hawlucha, and if we get a Luminous Energy, we can actually attach the Luminous to the Monkey, be able to get some extra damage over to that Drakloak on their side of the field, and be able to boss up the Fez and knock out both at the same time. But we have to find a lot of cards to do that. Well, not too many. We really just have to find either the Hawlucha, which we know is at the bottom half of our deck, or we need to find the Luminous Energy. So here we find the Luminous Energy, which is perfect. That's exactly what we needed. So here we are just going to start off with this Drakloak. We find a Fire Energy, and sadly we are going to just have to attach that Fire Energy instead, because they did boss up that Drakloak, so we're gonna have to waste our energy put on this turn for that. And then we do get the Hawlucha. We're still going to be doing the boss play, but this way we're just getting rid of a Dreepy on their field rather than their Drakloak. And this also gets rid of the Fez, so they don't get the extra draw. So this gets us 3 prizes, putting us down to only needing 1 prize left. So a boss gets us there if they keep that Drakloak as just a Drakloak. And they still need to take 5 prizes. So we just need to 2-shot a Dragapult and we'll be completely fine. The prizes that we got are okay. We, I think, got the Chiyu off the prize, we got a Counter Catcher, and then we got another Rare Candy. Here they hit us with a Iono down to 1. We do get the Charmeleon, so that's real nice. We can actually put down the Charmeleon, and then at any time if they do knock something out or anything, we can try to draw into a Charizard EX and still have a good attacker there as well. Here they do get down a Blood Moon Ursaluna, and they could do 240 damage here, or if they have a Counter Catcher, which they do, they can actually get rid of this Fez, so that's kind of a big problem for us. We're down to only 1 card in hand, but at the same time, we still have a Dragapult that has no damage done to it. They still need to take 3 prizes. Here we are going to Drakloak first. We see that we find the Hilda, and that pretty much seals it for me. So I'm going to put the Charmeleon down. I'm going to put down the Dragapult, and I'm doing this in this way to put myself down to only 1 card in hand to make it seem like it's not a very good card. So that way then my opponent is less likely to hit me with another hand shuffler, because they could hit me with another Iono if their hand is bad, or if they suspect that my hand is good. But because I'm down to 1 card, most people aren't going to really think that that's going to be the game-winning card. So I'm just trying to make it seem like I don't have everything, but we know that we pretty much have game sealed up at this point. So here they do use the Ultra Ball, and they're probably, yep, they get the Latias EX. That way then they can actually free retreat this Ursaluna. It's not going to be able to attack again this turn, because they can only retreat once unless they have like a switch, which I don't think any Dragapult lists are actually running. They do have Crispin though, so that's pretty cool to see in a Dragapult deck right now. I don't see that very often. And they do power up one of their Dragapults, and they're able to swing for a decent bit of damage. They're not able to get a knockout on anything unless they have like a counter catcher, which they do have the counter catcher. If I was in their shoes, I'd bring up the other Dragapult that actually has some damage on it, which they do. And this way, I have to have a energy attach in order to actually swing for game. And that's probably what they're hoping, is that I just don't find an energy. Because right now, I don't have a Drakloak on the field, so I can't look 2 cards deep. I only have my top deck and whatever card is my hand. But we know we have Hilda in hand. So we're just going to get the Charizard, we're going to get the Luminous. This is going to put down the Charizard EX. We have 2 energy, so we can actually put 1 there, and then we can attach the Luminous, hit with the Phantom Dive, knock out the Ursaluna on the bench, and that is game. Alright, so game number 2. It seems like it's the same exact game, just a different hand. It's another Dragapult mirror match. So here we're going to place down the Fez. We will manually attach this fire, and our hand is looking pretty bad. We're kind of riding on this Drakloak next turn into finding us something good, but they actually Iono us. So here we get a fresh new hand, and sadly we know that we are going to get Itchy Pollen locked, so we're going to just have to Iono right away. I debate about putting down the Munkidori here, because it could matter, it could not. It's kind of difficult to tell whether or not it's going to matter in these matchups or not. And here we just get a new hand. We find 2 more babies. We get those down. If we find a TM Evo at any point, we are going to be off to the races. We do have a Hilda in our hand though, so we can at least get a Drakloak next turn, get that down, put down a Luminous energy as well, and be able to go into a Dragapult the turn after. So here they get all of their Dreepy down, and they're just going to start chaining all of their Drakloaks. They also have a Fez down as well. So I'm pretty certain at this point that they're probably just the Mono Pult, or if anything, they could maybe be the Pult Dusknoir, but it looks more like just the Mono Pult list. So here they're just going to Itchy Pollen lock us once again. And we find another Dreepy, so we can get that down. We are just going to use our one of Hilda real quick, get a Drakloak, get the Luminous, put down the Drakloak. This is going to allow us to look 2 cards deep. We find a Charizard, which can come in clutch late game, allowing us to be able to one-shot a Dragapult EX, most likely. And then we did attach that Luminous. So here they have a Drakloak fully set up. They have another Drakloak getting set up as well. And they still have 2 Dreepy in the back. So they're able to look 4 cards deep this turn, plus their natural draw, so they're looking 5 cards through their deck. And that's kind of like one of the big things going for the whole Dragapult list, is all of that searching and stuff. And then here they use a boss. So now they got a Ultra Ball as well, so I see what their game plan is. Their game plan is basically they're going to do 200 damage to this Fez, put a whole bunch of spread damage on my bench Pokemon. They're not going to knock anything out because clearly my hand hasn't been the best, and they're going to wait until their following turn to be able to go for at least a 3 prize turn to be able to get a huge lead. So very smart on our opponent for doing that. There's not really too much that I can do, because if I want to attack this turn, I would have to have exactly Rare Candy in my hand, plus the Dragapult and the Charizard. And here, we're just going to have to use this Professor's Research. I don't want to Iono them right now. And we do find some energy. We can use this Buddy PAF and get down another Charizard, because we know that we're going to need that. And then we just manually attach to our Dragapult, and we're just going to let this Fez go because it's going to go away anyway. So we might as well try to stop them from doing extra damage to our Dragapult. Here, they do Ultra Ball again. This is going to most likely grab them another Drakloak so they can just keep looking even deeper into their deck. They're down to only 22 cards left in their deck as well. That is one of the downsides of the Monopult list, is they kind of go through their deck just as fast as a Gardevoir player goes through theirs. They're constantly seeing more cards, and here they do a Professor's Research to C7. And our game plan at this point, in order for us to win, we really need to just start dealing some damage with this Dragapult. We need to be able to two-shot their Dragapult, and then we're also going to have to go through at least one more, and hopefully that is enough to make them kind of like stutter a little bit so we can actually try to come back in this game. Here we are just going to get a Drakloak with that Ultra Ball, and then we are going to Counter Catcher up the Fez ourselves. We're going to try to do the same thing like what they did. That's why we also hit them with the Iono. And then here we do get the Charmeleon, so we'll put that on the one that has damage so they can't get a free prize. And then we do find the Super Rod. We could use that right now, and I probably should have. But this way, we're just going to put some damage around. We're not going to knock anything out because we don't want to let them draw extra cards. They're already going to be seeing 4 cards deep next turn, plus their natural draw, so 5 cards deep. We don't want to give them even more. And this also sets it up so a Phantom Dive next turn is guaranteed to at least get 3 prizes, if not more. So here they are just starting to look through cards. They're back up to 6 cards in hand already. And again, we're just trying to set up for a Charizard, because our Charizard can one-shot. It does 180 plus it'll be able to do up to 150 more. So that's what? That's 330 damage right there that we can easily do. And that easily one-shots a Dragapult, and they're not able to one-shot our Charizard. So the reason why we also wanted to keep that Charizard EX in our discard is because if we get our one-of copy of Night Stretcher, we'll be able to go into the Charizard that's in our bin. Here, we're just going to grab the Munkidori, and this allows us to be able to move some damage around. We're not able to move enough to really matter too much, but we are able to get a couple more knockouts here. And sadly, the writing is already on the wall because we weren't able to get the Charizard. We weren't able to get into the switch that we really needed. So we're just doing what we can to try to get as close to winning as possible, but they can easily get 3 prizes next turn. So here we just put those back. So I guess we could have just put those back first, then use the Drakloak, giving us a better chance of getting the Charizard EX, but I wanted to maximize the chances of finding like the Night Stretcher or like a Ultra Ball, just some way of getting to it as well. So here we did get 4 prizes. So it definitely was a close game, even with us having a far slower start than we would like. And that's just how it is with these Pult mirror matches. Alright, so game number 3 is actually against Gardevoir. So this is going to be one of the matches that actually makes this deck want to be viable and makes it pretty well. So this is the matchup that you really want to try to go into both copies of your Charizard EX, because you want to be able to knock out their Gardevoir EXs as soon as possible to turn off their entire deck's game plan. So here we do have a Budew, and since we drew into the second Charizard EX, we can't use this Professor's Research. We would just lose on the spot, essentially, because of it. We'd have to find our Super Rod to get those back, and we don't want to rely on just finding a one-of. So I'd rather just attach for turn, Itchy Pollen, and call it a day. Here they are playing the Flutter Mane. So something that they can do with this Flutter Mane tech is they can actually, like, counter catcher up or boss up the Charmander or Charmeleon when we get that down before it goes into a Charizard EX, and then if we don't have a way of moving it before we go into Charizard EX, then it turns off our ability when we evolve. So here we are just going to Itchy Pollen. We just drew into another Dreepy, so we at least got 2 Dreepy set up, you know. All they need is just the Luminous Energy and to be put into Dragapult EXs, and then they're fine. But here they do hit us with a Iono. Speaking of Luminous Energy, we find those, and we also found a Drakloak and a TM Evo, so pretty good for us. They find a Kirlia. They also have a TM Evo of their own, so they are going to be moving just that 10 damage over, making the Budew only have 10 HP left, and then they're going to evolve both of their Rolts and their Kirlia into a Gardevoir and a Kirlia. And then here we top deck into a Fez, so that's pretty good for us as well. We can Drakloak first, see what we find. We find a Charmander, that's huge. We can get that down now. And then here we could put down the Fez. It is a little susceptible, but I think that we kind of need to. And then I'm just thinking exactly how I want to do this, because I could just attach there. I'm going to retreat into this Dreepy, then attach the TM Evo. We are going to play down the Fez, and then I'm just going to TM Evo. I'm not going to research here because the boss is very important in this matchup, and I need to see it as soon as possible. Because if we can get into a Charizard EX, we need a boss to be able to bring up their Gardevoir and knock it out. So it is of the utmost importance to hold on to as many bosses as you possibly can in this matchup. So here they are on a Gardevoir turn. It's their first Gardevoir EX turn, so they're definitely going to be able to put down a lot of damage and be able to chain Munkidoris if they get another Munkidori down to start spreading the damage as well to get multiple knockouts. The scary thing here is them knocking out the Charmeleon before I find the Charizard EX. If they can find a way to do that, then we kind of have to get another Charmander and get that up and running as soon as possible to have a chance in this match. Here, they are just attaching more. They did find the Munkidori along with the Dark Energy, so they're just going to be able to move some more damage. They're probably going to throw that on the Charmeleon. And yep, they do throw it on the Charmeleon. And then here they can actually just swing with the Flutter Mane. They knock out the Dreepy, and they're going to be able to put 2 more damage on the Charmeleon, putting it down to only 50 HP, so they can easily knock it out next turn if we knock out their Flutter Mane. We are going to put up our Dragapult. We find the Arven, so that is huge for us. We also have the Fez draw, so we're going to do that first. We find the Air Balloon, and we find the Ultra Ball. So the Ultra Ball is perfect here. That way then we can actually use this boss to be able to get into the Gardevoir EX and get rid of it, forcing them to have to find their second copy. So we're just going to get rid of a Dragapult and the Arven. We're going to find the Charizard. This is going to allow us to be able to attach energy. We only had 1 energy left. Luckily, we have the Luminous in our hand for our manual attach. We are going to put the Air Balloon on the Dragapult so we can keep the energy on there too, and then use this boss knock out their Gardevoir for ×2 weakness, take our first 2 prizes, and now we are tied on prizes as well. So Counter Catcher doesn't work for them anymore. And then here, if they find a Gardevoir EX, they can get their engine back on. They do have a Earthen Vessel. They get rid of a rare candy. They find 2 more Psychic. They do get to flip the script, so that's kind of one of the downsides with them having Fez on the field, but we really need to just focus down these Gardevoirs, get rid of them as soon as possible, and that turns off the way that their deck is designed to work. So here they do have the Arven. They're going to be able to look through their deck, find an item and a tool. So there's a couple different things that they could grab here that could be notable. They do grab the Ultra Ball and the TM Devo. So that is disastrous for us. So if they, with the 2 energy that they did add with the Earthen Vessel, they do discard that. Now they can throw that energy onto something. They still have 1 energy left in grave that is a Psychic as well. So they actually have just enough damage to be able to move with the monkeys to guarantee a knockout on this Charizard EX, but with the Devo, so they only take 1 prize. So we will have to rely on Dragapult and finding another copy of Charmander and then getting that into another Charizard. Luckily for us, they usually only run like 1 TM Devo if they run any of it at all. So we won't have to deal with another one. So if we can find like a rare candy plus a Charizard EX, then we're definitely off to the races. So here they're just moving damage around with their monkeys. And then they're also just going to attach the TM Devo. Well, they attach a Dark Energy to their other Munkidori first. And then here they attach the TM Devo, and they will be able to get a knockout. And we do have the Dragapult EX still in hand, so we will at least be able to go into that still, be able to get rid of at least a monkey this turn. So here we top deck a Drakloak, which doesn't really matter. We're going to do the Drakloak first. We find either a Iono or an Ultra Ball. We might as well just grab the Ultra Ball instead. We're just looking through our deck, seeing exactly what we have. So I will just grab this Ultra Ball. Then we're going to Fez. We see 3. We find more Ionos. We do find the Buddy PAF though. So we can actually get down a Charmander and a Dreepy. So next turn we can actually go into another Drakloak and be able to see 2 cards deep again. And then here we do have an Ultra Ball, but we don't need it. We have a Charizard EX in hand. So what we really need to see is a rare candy next turn. And then here we just do our Phantom Dive. We are going to spread the damage in a weird way because they have multiple Munkidoris. We don't want to allow them to be able to just move 60 damage for free. We'd rather force them to only be able to move like 40. So here we find a Hawlucha, which is very nice. There is a world where this Hawlucha matters because we can actually use it to soften up the Fez at the end of the game, be able to boss that up or counter catcher that up and be able to get rid of it. So here they open up with a Ultra Ball, and the only card that I'm afraid of them having is Clefairy, and they have it. So now they're going to be able to play down the Clefairy. All Psychics are now ×2 damage into Dragon types. So that's pretty bad for us. Here they use Secret Box, discarding 3 cards to be able to search the remaining cards of their deck for a couple cards that they could need. And I don't know exactly what they're going to grab here. So they grab a Super Rod. They did grab, I think, a Iono, and I couldn't see exactly what that third card was right here. So they are just going to move some damage. They're throwing it on the Charmander. They know that that's my win condition in this match. So they're going to try to deal as much damage to it as possible. Luckily, because we spread our damage the way that we did, it makes it a lot harder for them to do so. And then here they hit us with the Iono. And we do have a Hilda, so if we find a rare candy, we're still in it. And we also have a counter catcher plus a boss. So this is actually the best hand that we could get if we have a rare candy off the top. So we have a total of 4 draws to get to it. We have our natural draw and then 3 draws from Flip the Script to hopefully find it. Here they're moving some more damage and they're close to knocking out that Charmander. So close. They go down to only 1 prize card remaining. We throw up the Charmander. We find an Arven, but we can't use 2 supporters at the same time. And there we go. We get both of the rare candies. So we snap use that Hilda. Now we get to rare candy into a Charizard. We get to use its attack. We only had 1 fire energy left, so thankfully we were able to add that Luminous. We're going to use the counter catcher here, specifically the counter catcher, so we can hold on to the boss. So that way then we can get rid of that Gardevoir. And this way we have a boss to be able to get around any sort of shenanigans that they could have to try to stop us from attacking, you know. Sometimes these Gardevoir players, they play crazy random techs for decks, so I wouldn't be surprised if they had like a Cornerstone in there for some reason, you know. Here they play out a MEW EX, and they use another Iono, putting us down to 1 card and them down to 1. And this allows them to be able to actually flip the script, go back up to 4 cards. They find a Night Stretcher, so they can add something back. They add a Psychic Energy. And then they're not going to be able to go into another Gardevoir, so for the most part, the only attackers that I really have to worry about here is the Clefairy and the Fluttermane. Those are the only attackers that are really going to matter because they're not going to be able to power up that MEW EX in time. I'm just going to be able to KO whatever is in the active and be able to win the game. So I don't know what they can really find here. And yep, they concede. So those are the games that I have for you guys today. I hope that you guys enjoyed them. Please leave a like and subscribe for more. I post every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, and I hope to see you guys in those videos as well. And without further ado, have a good day.